Hello and welcome to Happy Cells and Souls. My name is Julie Powers and I am a licensed Zumba instructor and I'm a business partner with the Juice Plus company. And my mission in life is to inspire healthy living around the world and to make sure that people know that life is better when they're dancing through it. But my expanded mission is to create better health at the cellular level and more joy at the cellular level. And I really believe that we only get one body while we're here and we're supposed to take care of it, but that we're supposed to enjoy life while we're here and spread a little joy along the way and be happy. Now, I have had the honor and privilege of getting to know an awful lot of really interesting people throughout my life. And what I find fascinating is that when we really listen to people, we get to learn from them. And it doesn't matter if we share the same beliefs for religion or politics, or if we came up in completely different cultures, it doesn't matter. We can learn from everyone. And so I just want to share a few of these stories with you. And my privilege today is to talk with Mark Toti, who I call Mr. Radio, because he is Mr. Radio. And I've known Mark for a long time, and we attend the same church. And I was doing a radio show with a friend of mine with Mark as our main host, our radio guy. And I just think he's a great guy. And I would love for him to be the subject matter instead of being the one who's asking the questions. So, Mark, I would love for people to get to know you a little bit better, other than just what they might know from your public persona here in our community. So, most people might know that you served in the military, but can you tell us a little bit about that? Like, how old were you when you enlisted, and how did you serve? And was there anything that you learned while you were serving that you'd like to share with whoever might be watching this?
Well, I joined the Navy in 1978 at the age of 19. Let's see, I went to boot camp in Great Lakes, Illinois. Then I went to school in Pensacola, Florida. From there, I learned, by the way, I learned Morse code, how to copy Morse code in Pensacola. From there, I went to Rota, Spain, and I spent 2 years there. And while I was there, I spent roughly 6 months on aircraft carriers, cruising around the Mediterranean Sea. And my final year in the Navy, I spent on an island in the Indian Ocean by the name of Diego Garcia. And from there, I got out of the Navy, came back to Missouri, went to school at the Broadcast Center, and worked at a radio station just outside of Union in Krakow, Missouri, and then came to Farmington in 1983.
So what was it about Farmington that drew you here? Were you just offered a job and you're like, yeah, I'm going to Farmington? Or was there something about the area that you wanted to be part of? Or how did you actually end up here at this radio station?
Well, when I was working at the radio station in Krakow, I would spend 1 week working the morning shift and the next week working the evening shift. And I would always, while I'm playing country music on the radio, I would like flip around the dial, and I kept hearing St. Louis Cardinals baseball. So I'd listen to the game on another radio station, which turned out to be at the time KTJJ, J98. And then one day the folks at the Broadcast Center said, hey, we've got a job possibility for you in Farmington, Missouri, 98.5. And I said, well, I know that station. I listen to Cardinal baseball on it when I'm working evenings in Union. So I went there for a job interview. It worked out well. And 37 years later, here I am.
Wow, 37 years. You have, you've witnessed a lot of changes in radio and in our community, of course. So have you always been on the country music station, which is J98, and the AM station, which is talk radio at 800 AM? Or were you just on country for a while and then you moved into talk radio, or how'd that go?
That's hard to really answer, because when you work at a small market radio station, you learn to do a little bit of everything. So I have spent many years on J98. That's probably where I'm best known, but I've been on KREI nonstop for about 15 years, but I've hosted the morning show before. I've done a mid-morning show before. I've done sports on KREI. So I can't really say I'm predominantly one or the other. I'm the kind of guy that does whatever it needs to be done.
Well, that is absolutely true. And I know that for a fact because you are one of those people who always jumps in. Um, uh, you probably give up more of your personal time than anybody that I know, because over the years, everybody wants a piece of Mark Toti when it comes to fundraising and charitable organizations. And they want Mr. Radio to be the host and the MC and the auctioneer and you name it, right? You have just done everything. You've been participating in so many organizations over the years.
Oh, I don't know. I don't think I've done any more than a whole lot of other people have. Quite honestly, I'd be just as happy if I was the guy in the back room of a food pantry stocking shelves. It's the ability to help out that really matters in the long run. And I just have the ability and a platform through the radio station that I can do the things that you're talking about. So I'd be silly not to do them.
Well, and you know, that's the thing is whenever you kind of are known in a community, you are a celebrity because you are on the radio. And so people know you. And so you do get to lend that star power to, you know, different events. And people feel like, ooh, Mark Toti's here. This must be important. Even if you don't think that, that is true. I know that all of the organizations that have been able to benefit from your volunteer efforts have been extremely grateful for that participation. Is there anything over the years that you have found in radio? Because I know, like you said, you've been in the small market for 37 years. So you write ad copy, you record ads, you do on-site live broadcast. You've done the sports color commentation, right? And you've done news stories, everything. And so what is it about your job that you have found the most interesting or the most fun? Not doing the volunteer efforts, because I know you enjoy that, but actually when you're working for the station, what have you found to be the coolest part of your job?
I don't know if I could say there's one coolest part or one most enjoyable part, but it's a combination of a lot of different things. I like it when I can bring a smile to somebody's face, especially when they may be having an otherwise not so fun day. I like it when I can bring somebody on the air and have them talk about their fundraisers and maybe help them make it a little bit more of a success. I like it when I can help a client record a commercial and that commercial turns out really well and it's a big success for them. There's a lot of different things I like. I love sports. In the day, I like sports by play-by-play. I've kind of moved past that now into different areas, but when I was doing sports play-by-play, I really loved that too. It was like you were a part of the game when you were doing the play-by-play. It was like you were actually involved in the action and not sitting on a bench or on a chair 50, 100 feet away. So just not one thing in particular. It's just a combination of all those things that made it a fun job all these years.
Yeah, that's great. You know, there's no way that I could do the sports announcing during a live game of any kind. I was
Well,
I was asked to keep score one time for my son's basketball game, and I couldn't even do that because I just would get so caught up in what was going on that I forgot to write down what I was supposed to write down. So
that does too.
yeah, I mean, it takes a lot of skill to be able to watch something that's going on and be able to actually talk about it at the same time. And I think that's really important. Um, and then you also have been able to be part of things that were, you know, pretty scary. Like you were there 9/11. You've been there when we've had tornadoes. You're working when things are falling apart in the world and or in our community, and you need to let people know about it. Is there any one news event or several that really stuck out, not because of the magnitude of the event itself, but because of how you had to react to it working at the station? Like, did you have to go to a certain place or, broadcast from an area that was someplace you never would have thought you would be?
Well, 9/11, just doing the nonstop reporting we did pretty was pretty interesting. When the Tom Sauk Reservoir broke and flooded, that was pretty crazy.
Huge. That
But
was huge for our area. Yes.
yes, but I think maybe the thing that sticks out is not just one thing. Again, not just one thing, but all the severe weather radar coverage that we've done over the years. Uh, we once reported on a tornado that hit in the Madison County area. We told people to go seek coverage and get underground somewhere, get somewhere safe. They did, and they told us the next day if we hadn't listened to you, we would all be dead because the
Wow.
we were in was completely destroyed.
That's that is really, really huge. I mean, to know that your voice going across radio waves saved lives. That's a
Not
really
just
cool thing.
it's anybody that works at the radio station, they could do that. I don't want to take credit for a whole lot of things.
Oh, we know that it takes a team, and we know that you've got a whole building full of people that are professionals and do an amazing job. And there are some other, people that work on air and behind the scenes that nothing could happen without them. But you
Yep.
see, this interview is about you. So we just get to talk about you. And since you're my really good friend, I like to talk about what you've done. So as far as technology goes in the radio business, what has really stood out in terms of how things have changed in what you've had to do on the board and what the board might look like? Because I know what the board looks like now because I've been in there a lot to do interviews with you, but a lot of people might not understand that it used to be just like knobs all over the place, and now it's kind of on just a few computer screens. But can you talk about that for a little bit?
Yeah, I sure can. When I first started working there, we had 45s. For you kids listening, those are records. For you kids listening, they look like little flat frisbees, okay?
Yep.
But anyway,
With a hole in the
we had
middle.
a hole in the middle, yes. We had 45s and we would play 45s when we were live. And then we had big reel to reels that each had like 30 to 35 songs on them. One reel contained all the current hits of the day. One reel contained songs that had been hits in the last 5 years. And the other reel contained what we call the oldies in the business. And we would just, we were automated except for 3 or 4 hours in the morning when we were live. Automated means everything runs itself. It's all kind of computerized. All our commercials were on 8-track cartridges, and
Wow.
we had to thing that way. We used manual typewriters, and it was an open air studio. So when our guys were live on J98 or KREI, you could hear the smack, smack, smack of the typewriters clicking in the background. When we got our first CD player, we thought we were highfalutin. It
Big
was
time.
right.
Big time.
Oh yeah, we were big time. And it was between 1988 and 1990, somewhere back in there. Our first CD that I played was Alabama's Greatest Hits. We used that CD player so much we broke it within 2 months, or maybe I did. I don't know, since I was the only one using it. I think.
Oh, that's great. And now everything comes across the screen and it's very quiet. It's very, very quiet.
All of our music now is through a website where we can download the songs that we want to play, and then we put them in our computer. And then we have different ways of formatting them. We have the current hits, we have the hits of the last couple of years, and then the oldies, kind of like the old system used to be. Yes.
Yeah, that's great. So, one thing that I love about being in a small community, and with having your station, you guys are really one of the rocks in our community. And being able to do what you said, having people come in and do those one-on-one interviews with you, whether it's a 5-minute interview on one station or 10 or 15 minutes on another station, you always have that option to bring people in, and you don't have to get that approved by a higher up saying, nope, you can't do that. You can't talk to that person. So I think that's great that you have that autonomy to be able to, give the voice to the people. And I guess that's why it's the voice of the Parkland. And and one other thing I wanted to talk about before we end this interview is, because you have worked on a country music station and we have something here in Farmington called Country Days, you have been like the MC and host of the big concert that is held, and you're always there one-on-one with those stars that come in, as well as other big stars that you've interviewed, either on the air or whatever. So is there any interesting story you'd like to share, other than when Dolly Parton came to Farmington, Missouri? Or maybe, there's something else that you just remember off the top of your head.
Two stories. First of all, the year Dolly Parton came to town, I had volunteered to sit in a dunking booth for Gay Wilkinson because he was doing something with future medical professionals. So I said, I'll be in a dunking booth. It was cold that day. It was about 60 degrees.
Oh, wow.
And I sat in a dunking booth for 2 hours. Then I went out to Wilson Rosier Park, and I was sitting around talking to the guys at the station. And I said, guys, I'm cold, freezing. I'm starting to feel like I'm getting sick. I got to go home. I got to get changed. I'll be back later on. I left. 2 minutes after I left, somebody comes from backstage and says, hey, Dolly's here. She's all excited. She wants to meet everybody. If I'd have waited 2 more minutes.
2 more minutes.
And backstage with Dolly Parton.
Oh, gosh. Yeah.
Then one other quick story. I think a lot of people know this because I like to tell this story. The late, great Charlie Daniels came to Farmington for Country Days, and somebody had mentioned to me that he liked to play golf. So I did my on-air interview with him before the concert, a couple days before the concert. And as a throwaway line, I said, hey, Charlie, if you get into town early enough, let's go play some golf. And he said, you got it, Putnam. And we ended the interview. I played a Charlie Daniels song. I picked up the phone to say thank you. And he goes, were you serious about playing golf? Now, I'm not the smartest guy in the world, Julie, but I wasn't smart enough to tell Charlie Daniels, no, I was kidding. I said, sure. Phone number. He says, call this number. We'll get it hooked up. So the day of Country Days, I got to go over to his tour bus, pick him up, drive him to what is now Crown Point Golf Course. We played 18 holes of golf together. And after it was over, he said, will you drive me through town? I kind of like to get the feel of these small towns I play at. And I said, yeah. So we drove through Farmington for about a half hour, 45 minutes. I showed him around town. Then I went to his concert that night. It was a great experience. I remember.
That's a fun story. That's a
Yeah.
fun story. Oh, well, you know what? I really appreciate you just taking a few minutes to take tiny little slices of your life and share that with people, because I just don't think that a lot of people know all of these things about you, and I think they'll find it very interesting. So,
Can I say one more thing?
you bet.
This one stuck out to me when you were asking about things that mean a lot to me, and maybe as much as anything else. I don't really quite remember where I was at the time, but I had somebody come up to me, and they had been living out of state, and they moved back to Farmington, and they said, Mark, we were on our way back into Farmington, and it didn't really feel like we were at home until we turned on the radio station, we heard your voice, we thought we were home then. And that tugs at my heartstrings.
There you go. That's a great way to end an interview. Thank you so much, Mark. I appreciate your time.
Julie, it is my pleasure, and you would make one heck of a radio interviewer.
Thank you.
You bet.